80,000 white-collar jobs. Gone in under 12 months. That's the entire population of Orlando, Florida, wiped off corporate payrolls in 2026 alone. And here's the part nobody's saying out loud. This isn't a recession, it isn't a correction, and it isn't temporary. The data shows we're watching the fastest extinction of knowledge work in modern economic history. And the curve is bending up, not down. Here's why this hit so hard, so fast. For 60 years, every developed economy made the same bet. Move people out of factories into offices, spreadsheets, slide decks, emails, reports. By 2023, services employment hit 79% in the US, 81% in the UK, and 74% in Germany. India, the global back office, sprinted from 24% to over 33%. We didn't just build a service economy. We built the most AI-vulnerable workforce in human history. Every one of those jobs runs on text, code, and structured data, which is exactly what large language models eat for breakfast. The countries that won the post-industrial transition are now the countries with the biggest targets painted on their labor markets. The US didn't diversify away from manufacturing risk. It concentrated into AI risk. Now the counter-argument. Every economist on CNBC says the same thing. Don't worry, AI augments workers, it doesn't replace them. Services keep growing. Look at GDP. Fine, let's look. Services as a share of GDP hit 78% in the US, 80% in France, 71% in the UK. The white-collar economy is bigger than ever, over $50 trillion in output across these 8 countries. But that's the trap. The pie is growing while the slice for workers shrinks. When services contribute 78% of GDP, but employment in services is starting to flatten or fall, that's not augmentation. That's decoupling. The economy is producing more knowledge work with fewer knowledge workers. That gap between the blue line and the orange line is the AI margin, and shareholders are pocketing every dollar of it. Here's the part that should make every knowledge worker furious. The countries getting gutted are the ones funding the weapon. South Korea pours 4.9% of its GDP into R&D. The US, 3.5%. Germany, 3.1%. Japan, 3.3%. That's hundreds of billions of dollars annually. Much of it now flowing straight into AI labs, foundation models, and enterprise automation tools. India spends 0.7%. Notice anything? The high R&D countries are the same ones with the highest services employment. They are literally subsidizing the technology that's eliminating their own white-collar class. There's no precedent for this in economic history. Britain didn't fund the looms that destroyed its weavers. The US didn't subsidize the robots that emptied Detroit. But today, taxpayers in the most exposed economies are writing checks to the firms, automating them out of a paycheck. And here's why deployment is happening at light speed. Internet penetration in the US, UK, Germany, Japan, France, Canada, and Korea is above 90%. Every laptop is a deployment endpoint. Every Slack channel is an integration target. Every CRM is one API call away from running on autopilot. Compare that to 2008, when AI hype last peaked. Back then, broadband was a quarter of where it is now. The infrastructure didn't exist to scale automation across millions of desks simultaneously. Today, it does. India's gone from 0.5% to 46% internet usage in 20 years, meaning even outsourced work, the supposed cost-cutting fallback, is now equally automatable. There is no geography you can offshore knowledge work to that AI can't reach in milliseconds. The deployment surface is the entire developed world at once. Now, the smoking gun. Unemployment among college-educated workers, the people AI was supposed to empower, is breaking trend. For 2 decades, advanced education unemployment hovered around 2 to 3% in the US and Germany. Recessions barely moved it. 2008 didn't break it. COVID barely dented it. It's the most resilient labor metric in modern economics. Until now. The early 2026 data shows it climbing in every major economy that's deployed AI at scale, the US, UK, and Canada leading. This is not blue-collar pain spreading up. This is a brand new pattern, the educated unemployed. For the first time since records began, holding a degree is no longer a recession-proof asset. Because the entry-level analyst, the junior lawyer, the mid-tier copywriter, the help desk engineer, those jobs aren't being augmented. They're being deleted from the org chart. So here's the verdict. The 280,000 jobs erased in 2026 are not a blip. They're the opening salvo of a structural reset. The data is brutal and consistent. The most service-heavy, internet-saturated, R&D-funded economies on Earth are the ones automating themselves fastest. And their college-educated workforces are bearing the first wave. This isn't the Industrial Revolution where displaced workers eventually move to new sectors. Because this time, the new sector, AI, needs almost no workers at all. Productivity is decoupling from employment. The pie keeps growing. The slice keeps shrinking. And anyone telling you AI is just a tool hasn't looked at the numbers. The white-collar extinction event isn't coming. It started 12 months ago. If you want the data before the headlines catch up, subscribe. We don't do hot takes. We do charts that tell you what's actually happening to your job, your industry, and your economy. Next video. Which white-collar roles the data says survive past 2030?